We are committed to helping Ukraine complete the transformation of its legal and judicial systems into ones that are fair, democratic, and independent, and that are accountable to the law and to the Ukrainian people. U.S. aid, the Department of Justice, and other agencies of the U.S. government have worked closely with Ukrainian authorities, with the European Union, with the Council of Europe, to make proposals to conform laws such as the Criminal Procedure Code and the law on the judiciary, to get them to conform to international and European standards and the recommendations of the Venice Commission and the Council of Europe in particular. Now, freedom of speech is another area, another key element in a democracy. We have supported the development of independent professional media in Ukraine from the very beginning. We have seen some successes, including the new Freedom of Information law, which is a step forward in reaching European standards. The law looks good on paper, although its enforcement has been inconsistent. The government needs to show that it expects all government officials to comply. A free press helps to hold public officials accountable and to reduce corruption. Journalists should be able to accurately report the news without interference by the government or media owners. International organizations such as Freedom House and Reporters Without Borders have noted a serious decline in media freedom since early 2010, which must be reversed. Local government pressure on independent news outlets should stop. All censorship, including self-censorship, is destructive to the principle of freedom of the press and to the confidence which citizens have in their government. As I indicated at the beginning of this speech, democratic government is not just a set of laws on paper. It is a commitment to a core set of values sustained by strong institutions that protect citizens from the arbitrary power of the state. It's not just about elections, but about the rule of law, guaranteeing an independent judiciary, free speech, and the protection of human rights, as well as property rights. Democratic countries which share those values can cooperate together in deep and meaningful ways to shape a better world. But to enjoy that cooperation, countries and their leaders have to truly share the values. Now, I'm convinced that the people of Ukraine treasure their freedom and want very much for their new democracy to succeed. As I mentioned before, the polls tell us that Ukrainians are concerned by many current societal trends, including unprecedented levels of corruption, injustice, and institutions which abuse and do not protect their rights. Cardinal Lubomir Huzar, the former head of the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church, recently said, and here I'm quoting, "Often in discussions, speeches, addresses, we come across an expression, building a better future. But if in the course of construction of a nation's future, people resort to injustice, to lies, to bribery, to unfair courts, falsifications, selling the truth, which run counter to a human being's freedom, then, Cardinal Huzar said, there is no doubt that sooner or later such a project will fail, even if today the structure looks formidable." We have a strong interest, we in the United States, in seeing Ukraine succeed, not fail. And by extension, we have a strong interest in seeing democratic values being truly embraced and put into action here. This is the key to Ukraine's future. This is why American leaders speak out so often on this issue. Now, it is an axiom that you cannot build a successful democracy without a successful economy, and certainly in Ukraine's case, an independent energy sector. Ukraine has tremendous economic potential, but must take concrete steps in several areas, in our view, if it wishes to fulfill its potential. In terms of economics, Ukraine has a large market with vast natural resources and a well-educated workforce. It could attract more foreign investment with a better business climate. It could become a significant contributor to global food security if it made full use of its rich black soil. And it could become much less dependent on foreign energy if it developed its own resources and if it improved energy efficiency. Bilateral trade between the U.S. and Ukraine has grown substantially from a mere $629 million in 1995 to $3.6 billion in 2011. It increased 46% last year alone. However, trade between our countries, given their respective sizes, remains significantly below what we believe is its potential level. We can and we must trade more. Joining the World Trade Organization in 2008 was a real success for Ukraine, significantly opening market opportunities for Ukrainian exports. Unfortunately, Ukraine's economy is less open to imports than its level of import tariffs would suggest. Non-tariff trade barriers remain high, including customs overvaluation and the non-automatic import licensing for certain agricultural products. Finally, the government's failure to refund value-added tax in a timely fashion, if at all, continues to seriously restrict the growth of Ukrainian exports, acting as an implicit tax on exports from this country and facilitating corruption, limiting Ukraine's comparative advantage, particularly in the agricultural sector. Despite its potential, Ukraine continues to rank very low in international ratings on the investment environment and the ease of doing business. This is an area where the government should act now on President Yanukovych's promise to implement real reform and to foster international investment. U.S. and other foreign businesses want to invest in Ukraine, but they face many of the same roadblocks as Ukrainian businesses. These include tax and customs problems, concerns about fair treatment in court, corporate raiders. Although laws to reform the tax and customs codes have been passed, their implementation has been so far uneven at best. We hope that President Yanukovych's signing the new amendments to the Customs Code last week will be a step in the right direction. Ukraine must change the way business is done on a systematic level, reform the tax code, customs code, and commercial law, and not just do it on paper, but in practice. The judicial system must enforce the rule of law for business contracts and effectively fight corruption. The rule of law issues I previously raised also apply to the economic sector. Now, the U.S. has programs in place to assist Ukraine's efforts in these areas, but it's up to the government of Ukraine to make the hard choices that lead to real reform. On financial side, Ukraine needs to reform its budget process and address transparency concerns. This will require tough steps to reform public spending and get back on track with international donors and the International Monetary Fund while protecting its poorest citizens. The energy sector is a key part of Ukraine's economy, and we support reforms that will make it more efficient and attract more foreign investment. With adequate large-scale investments, Ukraine could reach energy self-sufficiency in the medium term. Ukraine's energy usage is much less efficient than the EU, consuming 50% more gas than it actually needs. This narrows Ukraine's economic options, and it's not economically sustainable. USAID is helping with a 3-year program to increase energy conservation and efficiency in the municipal heating sector. Ukraine is a vital energy corridor, and it must be a reliable partner for the rest of Europe. Ukraine's essential gas transit system needs large-scale investment and modernization, which the United States also strongly supports. We are pleased that Ukraine has joined the European energy community, which provides the framework for important reforms and strengthens Ukraine's integration into Europe. We look forward to further progress through the work of our own U.S. Ukraine Energy Security Working Group. In February of 2011, the United States signed an agreement to assist Ukraine in developing its unconventional gas deposits, or shale gas as we usually like to describe it. This is a big step forward in Ukraine's efforts to develop its own energy resources and reduce its reliance on foreign partners. Now, we've made slow but steady progress in implementing this bilateral agreement. USAID environmental and regulatory experts, collaborating with Ukrainian counterparts, are now working on how to develop unconventional gas resources in an environmentally sound way. Let me repeat that, in an environmentally sound way. The U.S. Geological Survey will be here in July to explain new cutting-edge techniques for identifying potential unconventional gas resources, which will help provide the Ukrainian leadership with the tools it needs to develop an appropriate policy for those resources. The American Embassy is also working closely with the Ukrainian government, international oil companies, the American Chamber of Commerce, to ensure fair and transparent tenders for the exploration and development of unconventional gas blocks, a necessary precondition to attract the significant capital needed to safely develop these resources. While talking about economic issues, let me just finally mention health. Needless to say, but I'll say it anyway, a healthy population leads to greater productivity and a stronger economy. Ukraine faces a growing epidemic of HIV/AIDS. U.S. aid has agreed with the government on an important new aid program to fight this scourge. We believe this is important not only to make Ukraine more prosperous, but also on a basic humanitarian level. Finally, let me turn to people-to-people exchanges. Over the last 20 years, we have brought our countries closer through people-to-people exchanges. Thousands of Americans and Ukrainians have gotten to know each other and to share experiences. Our U.S.-sponsored exchange programs have sent more than 40,000 Ukrainians to the United States since 1992. Scholars, students, experts, officials, and community leaders have been able to see their work in an international context and to see the United States at first hand. American Peace Corps volunteers, more than 2,500 of them, have come into the lives and homes of thousands of Ukrainians over the last 20 years. The Ukrainian families have welcomed them and taught them Ukrainian ways. Today, our Peace Corps program in Ukraine is the largest program of its kind in the entire world. Our cooperation on science and technology is one of the most positive aspects of our current bilateral cooperation, both within the Bilateral Strategic Partnership Commission Working Group on Science and Technology and in separate initiatives. In the last year alone, we jointly organized a major international conference on nuclear medicine, which we think will lead to critical advances for fighting cancer, as well as taking advantage of opportunities that will open up once the state-of-the-art linear accelerator that I mentioned earlier comes online in Kharkiv. We helped Ukrainian scientists visit Argonne National Laboratory in the States to consult with our scientists there who are working in this same field. We're now exploring ways for our national institutes of health and Ukrainian counterparts to further deepen their cooperation. In conclusion, let me reiterate again that we see Ukraine as a vital part of Europe's future. We enjoy a cooperative relationship in many areas, and we can find even more opportunities for joint action. As we celebrate the 20-year mark in our relations, we are impressed by the strides that Ukraine has made as an independent nation. It has a clear opportunity to build a better future that not only looks formidable, but truly delivers a sustainable system that will serve its people well for years to come. We are prepared, we the Americans are prepared to do whatever we can to help that opportunity become reality. We believe Ukraine must not move backwards on democracy. As I mentioned time after time today, establishing the rule of law is essential for Ukraine to make progress in nearly every other area. We have overcome complex challenges in U.S.-Ukrainian relations before, and we can draw on our historic friendship to build a better future together. As Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, once said, "I never considered a difference of opinion in politics, in religion, in philosophy as cause for withdrawing from a friend." True to this sentiment, the people of the United States will continue to stand by our Ukrainian friends and to do what we can do to help you realize your dreams. Thank you very much, and I'd be pleased to answer your questions.